The crimson moons of Zerion 7 cast eerie shadows across the crystalline forest as Ruya crept through the glowing undergrowth, her plasma rifle clutched tightly in her trembling hands. Behind her, Jackson's labored breathing echoed through their comm link. His leg badly injured from their crashed shuttle. The rescue beacon was still 3 kilometers away, and the nocturnal predators of this hostile world were beginning to stir. "Ruya, you need to leave me," Jackson's voice crackled through the static. "I'm slowing you down, and those Zerion dragons will be hunting soon." She pressed herself against the trunk of a bioluminescent tree, its bark pulsing with ethereal blue light. "Not happening, Jackson. We're both getting off this rock." The first roar shattered the alien night, a sound like thunder mixed with the screech of tearing metal. Ruya's blood ran cold. She'd studied the mission briefings about Zerion dragons, apex predators the size of ancient Earth's blue whales, with armored hides that could deflect military-grade plasma bolts and intelligence that rivaled most sentient species. They hunted in coordinated packs and showed no mercy to trespassers in their domain. A massive shadow passed overhead, blotting out the moons. Ruya held her breath as the creature's wing beats created hurricane-force winds that bent the crystal trees like saplings. The dragon landed with earth-shaking force barely 50 meters away, its serpentine neck weaving back and forth as it searched for their scent. In the alien moonlight, Ruya could see the beast clearly. Its scales were like polished obsidian, each one the size of a dinner plate. Razor-sharp claws gouged furrows in the rocky ground, and its eyes, those terrible golden eyes, scanned the forest with predatory intelligence. Most terrifying of all were its nostrils, large enough for a human to crawl through, exhaling superheated air that turned the surrounding vegetation to ash. The dragon's head swung toward their hiding spot, nostrils flaring. It had caught their scent, but something was wrong. Instead of the expected killing roar, the creature made a sound of distress, a low, mournful wail that seemed to vibrate through Ruya's very bones. The massive head thrashed from side to side, and she noticed the dragon repeatedly pawing at its snout with one clawed forefoot. Against every survival instinct screaming in her head, Ruya found herself stepping into the open. "Ruya, what are you doing?" Jackson's panicked voice filled her earpiece. She ignored him, her eyes fixed on the dragon. Now that she was closer, she could see the problem. A massive thorn, easily 2 meters long and thick as her arm, had somehow become lodged deep in the creature's left nostril. The dragon's attempts to dislodge it had only driven it deeper, and streams of luminescent blood trickled down its snout. The dragon froze when it saw her, its golden eyes narrowing to slits. For a moment, predator and human stared at each other across an impossible gulf of species and intention. Ruya could feel the creature's pain radiating from its massive form, not just physical agony, but the frustration of a proud apex predator reduced to helpless suffering. Slowly, very slowly, Ruya set down her plasma rifle. The dragon's head tilted, confusion replacing hostility in those ancient eyes. She raised her hands, palms open, and took another step forward. "Easy, beautiful," she whispered, knowing the creature couldn't understand her words but hoping it might sense her intent. "I know it hurts. Let me help." The dragon's massive head lowered until it was level with Ruya's torso. This close, she could see the intelligence burning in those golden depths, an awareness that seemed to evaluate her, measure her intentions, and somehow find them acceptable. With hands steadier than she had any right to possess, Ruya reached toward the embedded thorn. The dragon flinched but didn't pull away. The thorn was slick with blood and wedged tight, but Ruya worked at it carefully, mindful that one wrong move could trigger a reflexive snap that would end her life instantly. "Come on," she murmured, working her fingers around the base of the thorn. Almost got it. With a wet sucking sound, the thorn came free. The dragon's relief was immediate and overwhelming, a deep rumbling sound that was almost like purring. Golden eyes blinked slowly at Ruya in what could only be described as gratitude. Then the pack arrived. 3 more dragons materialized from the crystal forest, their roars splitting the night. These were hunters, and they had come for blood. Ruya scrambled backward, reaching for her rifle, but she knew it was useless. 4 Zerion dragons were more than any human could handle. The injured dragon she had helped rose to its full, towering height and placed itself between Ruya and the pack. Its roar was different now, not the hunting cry of a predator but the protective bellow of a guardian. The other dragons pulled up short, confusion evident in their postures. What followed was unlike anything in the xenobiological records. The dragons communicated in a series of subsonic rumbles and electromagnetic pulses that Ruya could feel more than hear. Her dragon, for that's how she had begun to think of it, seemed to be explaining something to the others. Occasionally, one of the pack leaders would direct a golden gaze toward Ruya, and she could sense their assessment of her changing. Finally, the pack leader, a massive female even larger than Ruya's dragon, approached. Ruya stood perfectly still as the enormous head descended to her level. For a terrifying moment, those predatory eyes studied her with alien intelligence. Then, incredibly, the pack leader's nostril touched Ruya's forehead with surprising gentleness, a gesture that somehow conveyed acceptance. The pack melted back into the crystal forest as silently as they had appeared, but Ruya's dragon remained. When she retrieved Jackson, and they continued toward the rescue beacon, the massive creature paced alongside them, a living fortress of scales and wings that no other predator on Xerion 7 would dare challenge. At the beacon site, as they waited for rescue, Jackson shook his head in amazement. In all the galaxy's records of first contact, I've never heard of anything like this. A human showing compassion to an apex predator and earning its protection in return. Ruya watched her dragon standing vigil against the crimson dawn, its obsidian scales gleaming like armor. Maybe that's what makes us human, Jackson. We help, even when it doesn't make sense, even when it's dangerous. When the rescue ship arrived, Ruya's dragon watched from a respectful distance as the humans departed. But as their shuttle rose through Xerion 7's atmosphere, she could see the massive form still standing sentinel on the landing pad, a bridge of understanding built from one small act of kindness between species separated by evolution, intelligence, and instinct. Some bonds, Ruya realized, transcend all the barriers the universe can create. And sometimes the bravest shields are forged not from metal or energy, but from compassion itself.